Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show Mindful Matters on Radio Al-Ansaar, 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM in Pietermaritzburg. A show that promises to provide an hour of inspiration, information and motivation with me, your host, Nazia Iram Osman. Please feel free to participate in the show today and make it more interactive so we can learn and inspire each other by sharing our stories. It's alive today, so you can phone or WhatsApp your questions, feedbacks, comments. The WhatsApp number is 060 904 1056 and the studio number to call is 0861 904 904. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. So it would be great if you could let us know if you've set any goals for this year or in the past and how that has worked out for you. Because the new year is generally a time to reflect back over the previous year, taking stock of what we have accomplished and reflecting on what we will work on to continue our growth. The human being unfolds during their lifetime. We grow our bodies, our minds, and of course our hearts and soul. We can't grow ourselves out of order. We must grow in the stages that are age appropriate. In other words, we are not a finished product when we are born. We must age and evolve over our lifetimes. And we are a process, not a product. But we do have choice in how we want to grow. It's a good part of the year to take some quiet time to reflect back over the last year and note the gains in all three centers of the body. That is the body, mind, and soul. Ask yourself the question, am I living my best life in all three of these centers? And to do this, in my opinion, it's a good idea to set a few simple resolutions and an intention of what you would like to accomplish during the year. To help us with this is life coach, bodytalk practitioner and cupping therapist, Razia Rangrage. Welcome, Razia, once again to Mindful Matters.
Assalamu alaikum, Nazia, and dear listeners, Jazakallah Khair once again for having me on your show. Always a delight to be here.
And it's a pleasure for us to have you. This year has flown by so quickly, and even if we look at Jan, I think the days are just going. I know personally you would know that 2019 for me has been, I would say, overall a lovely year, but uncomfortable as well because I stretched myself, and I use that word stretch because it was beyond my comfort zone, trying too many things.
Yes.
It was a good learning process.
Yeah.
But it was definitely challenging. What was 2019 like for you?
2019 for me, wow. It was the year that my most dreaded, horrific fear became a reality. The loss of my dad, Marhum Hafiz Ghulam Nabi Rangrage. And, in the past, whenever I thought of losing my dad, I would literally get weak in the knees and think, I don't think I would ever manage that. And it became a reality last year. And he was my strength, my pillar, my support, my guide, my mentor, my biggest body talk fan, and also he's somebody who kept me very grounded. And when you lose such a person, such a personality in your life, it's like literally you're swimming in the ocean and all you can see is water and you can't see any land. So it was huge. It was a great loss. And you must know it was only 6.5 months after Husna, my daughter, lost her dad, Marhum Mohammed Hafiji. So it was a double blow. It was an emotional roller coaster. It was managing not just my own emotions, but obviously my little daughter, who in Islam is an orphan, and now I have a widow under my care as well. But if I have to reflect, alhamdulillah, through all of that pressure and stress and everything, a lot of gems come out of it. And I think it pushed me into avenues I don't think I would have ordinarily tapped into. So I got invited to do some public speaking, which opened up. And then I got inspired. I started little inspirational videos on my social media and also started a YouTube channel. I graduated last year in finally my BCom degree. And also I certified as a NADA Acu-Detox Acupuncture Practitioner. So that's a very nice add-on into my practice because while we're working with the whole body-mind complex, we also work on detoxing things on another escalated level as well.
Well, alhamdulillah, it sounds like your year had very intense ups and downs.
Absolutely. And it was, I do live print in my sessions, right? Yeah. So for me, it was balance and family. And at the beginning of last year, I remember joking, saying, this year will be the year I meet my soulmates. But it was actually literally learning how to balance family. Really, everything, So it's a whole new journey for us. It's a whole new path that has opened up. And I know for you, it was transformation and healing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it felt that way, but...
And this year, new beginnings. The energy of 2020.
But, as I was listening to you, I kept on getting the image of a diamond. Because, life, we all want an easy life, but a life of meaning. I always think of the image of a diamond because a diamond is, it's a rough in the rock and then it gets shone. And, of course, in that whole buffering process, it's not comfortable.
Not at all.
So sometimes, or most of the time, growth is painful.
Absolutely.
And I think the fear of losing loved ones is a universal challenge. Who does not fear that? I think that's our test as believers.
Yes.
Or, a test throughout. But also there's one concept that I just, it came to my mind. It's called psychological immunity, which basically means that, we think that when bad things happen, we assume we're not going to bounce back.
True.
But psychological immunity means that no matter how bad things are, we find a way somehow to get back to our normal level of functioning.
And that reminds us of the ayat that Allah will never put you through anything you cannot manage. Right. And I think we can take comfort in that. And فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, with every difficulty is equal amount of ease. So looking for that, because the lifelines are there, the floaters are there. We got to look for it and grab it and thrive.
Yeah, and I think it's also reframing or looking at, okay, first most of us believe we won't cope.
It's the fear.
And that creates anxiety. No, I won't cope. And then when opportunities are in front of us or good moments can present itself, we're so closed off or we feel so guilty that we don't even take that, which can make the journey a little bit easier. So I think your thinking patterns.
Yes, and that goes down to belief systems. Right. Do I feel worthy enough of that? So when the opportunity knocks up the door, am I worthy of it? No, I'm meant to suffer. I'm meant to be at this level and at this stage.
Let me just carry on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And until you don't go and do the inner work, it's really not going to shift. And as Allah says, I will not change the condition of a person until they change what is in themselves. So not just your salah, your Quran, your outer appearance, inside. So your thought processes, your thinking, your self-talk, your perception of yourself. How are you viewing your experiences? How are you managing it? All of that comes into play.
And I think, we all want to control situations, but there comes a point where we have to realize a lot is out of our control, but what we can control is our reaction to it.
Absolutely. Respond instead of reacting. Yes.
And I think between every, whenever there's stimuli, whenever there's anything happening, if we can catch that moment, almost always use the pause, pause, breathe, and then speak and then respond.
Yes.
If we don't realize we have choice.
That's it. The choice. And even if we're talking about resolutions, everything is a choice. Even if you decide to do nothing for the year, it's a choice.
So don't act like a victim. There's a choice. Even doing nothing is a choice. Like they say, communication.
Yes.
If someone pulls up their face or doesn't talk to you, they are still communicating to you. They're saying, I don't want to talk to you. I'm cross with you. So even that's a choice. When someone says, I didn't say anything, but you were still, something was being said, right?
You're always making a choice. There's always two options.
And you spoke about this life print. What is that about? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that too.
So life print is so interesting because every year has a different energy. And I think if we have to go to New Year's resolutions, I think when there's a change in the calendar, people become very excited and they get inspired and, now I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But are they really setting those very strong goals? Yeah. And yes, the change in the calendar comes in, so there's a different energy to it. And according to that, we can have an idea of how the year will be playing out. But as you said, nothing is in our control, but it's how we manage it. So life print will give us an understanding of our personal energy for that year. Right. And then you can work with it better.
And I think for convenience sake, we use the new year as a time for resolutions. But I think it would be nice if we did this in Muharram, but we don't.
So true.
But I mean, if someone puts their mind to it, they can choose any part of the year. Every month is a new month. Every week is a new week.
Absolutely. And just to explain a little more of life print, is basically giving us an idea of our personality, our own personal blueprint, because it's not like mainstream thinking. Here's the box, fit into it, and if you can't, then there's something wrong with you. You are created very differently to me. As we know, you are the person that needs structure. You need method in what you do.
Yes, I have the script in front of me while I'm talking, so she's looking at me like that.
And yeah, you need method and things like that, very results driven. I'm the opposite. I am the inventive personality, in fact, I thrive under stress. Give me something under stress and I'll crack it. Give me something and say, okay, you have 2 days.
Yeah, give me a plan and I'll crack it. Don't give me the plan, I'll crack you. But
that's it. We're all different. So having an understanding of our personality gives us better self-acceptance. And then how can we work better with ourselves in order to thrive and to be the best version of ourselves? Because if we even think of being a Muslim, Muslims are not supposed to just be mediocre. We all have certain predispositions that we have been gifted with for a reason, that Allah made you the way you are, very structured, and me the way I am. So being able to tap into that and flourish and thrive in our purpose here on this earth is very important. So LifePrint gives us a better understanding of your personality, because I know I studied many things. If I go and tell you my journey, really, I studied many things, and there was a point where I thought, maybe there's something wrong with me. Why can't I just find one thing? And when I looked at my LifePrint, it made so much of sense, and I could breathe and really accept myself to know, actually, I do enjoy variety, and I do need the freedom for different things.
I think you touched on a few important things there, that I think the big thing is getting to know ourselves.
Yes.
And then so I feel I'm very structured, finding moderation in it. Yes, okay, you're structured, certain times you have to be flexible.
Yes.
Knowing yourself, hey, I'm working myself up to it here, now it's time to draw the balance.
Absolutely,
so
you don't have
not being defensive or rigid, knowing both your strengths and weaknesses. And funny thing is, usually our strengths are our weakness. So I think about,
ironically,
personally, I say I'm the struggling perfectionist because I love it to be perfect, but it can never be.
And feel the energy of those words, struggling perfectionist.
Yeah,
Look
because
at
it
that.
can never be. But I've owned that, and then you work with that.
And that became your identity.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you say, okay, it's not perfectionist anymore, it's good enough. It's just good enough.
Yes.
And so that gives off such a different energy.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, you're no longer
enjoying the balance is so important.
Yeah, so you're no longer in that lack vibration now.
Yeah.
Good enough. That means now abundance mindset. So a whole different energy you start to attract as well.
Alhamdulillah. But I know when Razia first threw that at me, that she said your LifePrint was what? New beginnings, did you say?
This year.
And I was like, no, I don't do new. I like things just the way they are. So change frightens us.
Fear
I
of
think
the unknown.
change that we feel we have control over, or that we are slowly brought into. We may be more, like they say, you put a frog in a pot and you put the water on warm and you make it, and then the frog will probably get boiled. But if you put it super hot, it will jump out.
Absolutely.
So too, I think we have to take it easy with ourselves. Just setting a goal, I'm going to lose 20 kilos. Really? How?
Exactly.
It's not that easy. Why don't you lose 2 kilos for the first month? So I think we need to draw the balance, know ourselves, make goals that are achievable.
Absolutely.
And realistic, so we don't feel like failures, because then you're putting yourself up to not succeed, and then you judge yourself.
Yes. And then you put yourself down again, and then the self-talk is, I'm not good enough. The
cycle continues.
Absolutely. Yeah. But also, I think when we're setting goals, it's very important identify, for example, if you want to lose you want to lose some weight, okay, be specific, right? The SMART goals come in. Be specific. It must be measurable, achievable, results spoken, time bound, all of that. So I want to lose 10 kgs, fine. How many a month? Fine. Have a plan of action. How are you planning on doing that? But more than that as well, what's important is, what is your feeling with regards to the end result? Do you actually believe you're going to be 10 kgs down in 4 months' time? Can you visualize it? Can you see it? Because if you can't get that right, then
because I've read up, it's called the reticular activating system of our brain. If you write something down, and then you envision it as best you can. So just say sportsmen used to do that when they used to train in their mind, and then they focus on their goal. There's such a high chance that you will achieve it. So you write it down, and then you picture it as clearly as you can. Bringing in all of your senses.
Visualization therapy, I bring in a lot of those in sessions. So you're already getting the mind, getting your physiological side and everything in alignment, because it's like paving that pathway. And if you don't pave that new pathway, neurological pathways, you're going to go on the same pathway as before, and then you're not going to achieve it.
Do it. You know, that's. But the other thing I wanted to bring up, lots of people, losing weight. That seems to be the thing for the year. But why do you want to lose weight? Because I saw one of my friends put up, and she does Taibo, and she said, exercise because you love your body, not because you don't.
Very
and I loved
true.
that. I mean, if you want to drop weight,
Absolutely.
is it for your health or is it to show yourself off to others? I mean,
The why is
the energy
important.
makes a very big difference.
Very true. Like if I may share just 4 steps if you want to set goals, change your life, right? It's the new year, new life. So step 1 will be select an area in your life that you would like to improve, and describe what that area is like for you currently.
Okay.
Be specific. So very, very specific.
Right.
Step 2, write down the rituals that have shaped your current conditions in this area. And again, be very honest.
So just say, if we use an example, if somebody wants to drop weight, then they'll say,
Yes.
why do I want to drop? Okay, maybe I get out of breath when I walk up the stairs. I can't fit into this clothes. It's affecting my confidence level. I would feel better about myself. That would be one.
Absolutely.
So second, you'd say the rituals.
So write down the rituals that have shaped your current condition in this area. So what has kept you stuck in your current situation of being so-called not in the perfect body weight?
So you're talking about habits, like just say eating or snacking.
Absolutely.
Things like
you
that.
can't expect to lose 5 kgs if you don't change your habits. You know, you're eating, your exercise, what you're putting down there, things like that.
Right. So how is it not working for you, and how are you maintaining the situation as
Yes,
such?
and you got to be honest. So not trying to bring in the excuses to pacify yourself. So facing that hard truth.
Yeah.
Step 3 is write down what you want. What's your compelling vision? Be specific. The more specific you are, the better. It's like you can't go into the restaurant and say, I'd like soup, please.
What soup do you want? But
Soup.
I hear you, completely. What do you want? We focus on, I don't want this and I don't want that.
Yes.
What do you want?
Also, if you think about people say, okay, what do you want? I want happiness.
Yeah.
But
what is happiness? And happiness is momentary. Like, what do you want?
Absolutely. Just being in the present. Like I often say, are you not happy right now? What's going on? Are your limbs out of place? You know, your lungs not working? Your heart is out of the body? Can you see? Can you swallow? Why aren't you happy? What's stopping it right now? And it's these little things that we just take for granted. Because we think that all of these things that we have been gifted with are our rights. They're not our rights.
We feel entitled.
They're
Like you
gifts.
say, if you write down or journal every day 3 things that you are grateful for, no matter how bad the day, find 3 things that gave you some happiness or respite, even for a moment. The brain gets
Absolutely.
used to looking for it because there are happy moments
Yes.
or moments of contentment.
Yes.
But we take it for granted, and the brain goes straight for what went wrong, and we make it so big.
Yes, it's the
We're
focus.
it's not necessarily so.
And
So,
whatever
yeah.
you focus on grows, and whatever you're going through, whatever you're focusing on becomes your reality. So you can determine what your reality
So
would
if you
be.
focus on misery and what you don't want, then that's what's going to grow.
And that's going to be your experience, and that is going to be your life. Misery. But if you focus on all the little things that are around you, that's why the gratitude journal you spoke about is so profound. And Allah says, وَلَا إِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. The more grateful you are to me, the more I will increase you in favors. So even psychologists, as you know, would tell depressed patients to do the gratitude journal because of the profound effect and the ripple effect that it has, because you're
But
already
I
starting.
must confess, sometimes we're scared to show how, alhamdulillah, the ni'mas that we have because of, here's the big one, nazar. If I tell people that I have this and
It'll
that,
be
and you don't
blocked.
have to tell anyone. Enjoy it yourself. Have your gratitude journal. You don't have to share. 'Cause
And
I
all
feel that's a big one. People will say,
True.
don't tell people.
And all truth is truth. If
Yeah.
you believe that, nazar is going to catch you, it's going to catch you. It's your truth. But also we have to also be realistic, because we are warned, summary of a hadith, that some people's eyes are really not good. So you don't have to share everything. And you know what's the irony? I laugh because in the past we like had diaries that we would lock. Nobody must read
Yeah.
it. And now the irony is even a cup of tea needs to go on social media.
Definitely.
And then we have to ask
Definitely.
ourselves, why?
Yeah.
We need the likes. We need the approvals to feel
But we're
validated
putting
ourselves.
Everything out there.
Everything.
And that's a bit scary.
Absolutely.
Because
and the
the
question
need for
comes in.
validation comes from outside then. If I got
Absolutely.
2 likes instead of 20, did that cup of tea not look good?
Yeah, it's not approved.
Yeah,
It's not approved. So there's something
it must
wrong
be-
with me.
Oh, yeah.
And
Definitely not
hence-
just my cup of tea, something wrong with me. But
And then it puts you in a
let's
low
get to the
vibration.
4th step, and we'll just, after that, go for a short ad.
Okay, so the fourth step is write down the rituals that will get you to your compelling vision. So what you need to do differently each day to get what you want, and this is where the change needs to come in. So you have to start making small changes. So focus on a keystone habit that results in a domino effect, aligning multiple other areas in your life. Small incremental improvements are more likely than dramatic shifts to result in the outcome you desire.
Okay, so we're just going to pause for a short ad break and then we'll go back to step 4 and make it more practical. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Mindful Matters, where we were chatting to life coach, body talk practitioner and cupping therapist Razia Rangrage. Razia, before we went off on the ad break, we were talking about the 4 steps of change, and you had mentioned the 4th step. Maybe you could just repeat that and then we could elaborate a little bit on it and make it more practical with the use of an example.
Sure. So it's write down the rituals that will get you your compelling vision. What would you need to do differently each day to get what you want? So that means being very clear. Okay, firstly, your compelling vision. So being very clear on what that vision is and also why you want it. Because when you understand the why, it's important and it changes the whole energy because now you have the drive for it. Right. And then identifying.
So even when your energy dips, you'll go back into that why and it'll pick you up again.
Absolutely, because you know what? Any road is always going to have some bump along the way. But it's your perseverance, your resistance, everything that helps you to thrive and to get through because it's that end result that you're holding. Hence your compelling vision. And then what would you need to do differently each day in order to achieve it? And that means being very clear. Now, maybe we can go into short-term goals and long-term goals. Right. Because if you're thinking short-term goals, then it's like, okay, by this end of this month, I want to lose 4 kgs. So if I have to get there, what do I need to do each day to make a difference to add up? So it's those small little changes that you start to make in order to get there. So it would be like cut down on the excess sugar, dairy products if you're having too much, all of those things. Exercise, bring in exercise, and then time. Time is important, as we mentioned, because if you don't set a specific amount of time for something, you're never going to really get there. Like as I told you, give me a time slot for my personality and I'll thrive. Tell me that I have 20 hours, I won't really get there. So time is important, and it also helps us to create a sense of boundary that what we can work with. And I think also if we talk about 2020, it's a new year. People use it to make resolutions, but most of the time it doesn't fall through. But also, in effect, what is 2020? Other than sounding like a cricket match.
Or clear vision.
It is actually a wake-up call of time. The value of time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how valuable time is and how are we using this time. And then we have to go back to the bigger picture also. Why are we on this earth? Why have we been created? What is our purpose here? And realize that every second that goes by is like water that went down the river. It's never going to go by again. So every second that goes, it's never going to come back again. Right. So don't feel like you have too much of time, because our time on this earth also is very limited. It's very minimal.
Because they say imminent death makes life worthwhile, because we live life to the fullest then. Because if someone knew they had limited time, wouldn't they do everything? And they'd pay attention to body, mind and soul. And it's so easy to forget our spirituality.
Absolutely.
Because we think, oh no, I need to drop the 10 kilos, but what about zikr? Or what about more than that?
And if you think about in Islam, we're not supposed to be doing too much eating. So excessive eating is not good, So the one-third portion comes in.
I think drawing the balance, bringing all of it in and tying it together. But you spoke about time, and I think time is so important. I just want to repeat, I know you did mention the SMART goals. But for goals to be able to be achieved, when we first set them, there's endorphins or there's dopamine that just spikes and you get all excited.
Yes.
I'm going to do this. And then as time goes by, we know all New Year's resolution in 2 months down, it's wavering.
Yeah.
So they say goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic,
Yes.
and time bound. So instead of just saying, I want to be happy at the end of 2020, okay, what can you do for the day? So maybe every day take out 10 minutes of your day to do this.
Yes.
Or I want to drop 20 kilos by the end of 2020. What does that mean for you? Okay, 10 minutes or 20 minutes of exercise a day.
Absolutely.
So we bring it down to something that you can do.
Yes, and there's always time. There's no such thing. You often hear people say, I don't have time. I don't have time. But that in itself is an affirmation. And the more you affirm you don't have time, you won't have time. But yet just sitting and looking at your phone, that's time.
That's what I was saying. It's scary that technology steals so much of our time. And I'm using
So
the word
true.
steal because you don't even realize
So true.
that it goes away. You look down, you look up again, 20 minutes gone. So I think it's also important, I think one of the goals I would think could be important is putting away your technology or your smartphones for a certain amount of time a day.
Yes.
So you can detox and use that time to achieve one of your goals.
So vital indeed in today's times.
And I don't know if you would be comfortable in sharing. Look, it sounds like you've been through a pretty challenging year.
Yes.
How did you cope, or what do you tell your clients? What advice do you give them on how to cope? What are some of the tools you use?
Alhamdulillah, the interesting thing is in my journey, I have been tested on very, very many different spheres, shall I say. And the interesting thing is that I'll attract clients that are going through that. So when clients come to me, it's not like, oh, I can only imagine. And where I'm telling them, just, it'll come, right? Don't worry. But I know that you'll be okay. I know that you can shift from there because why? I've done it. And how I've done it, cognitive reframing comes in. Because if we have to look at my current situation, where the very two important male figures in our lives, and especially in my daughter's life, have been taken away. If in on the human level, you can really lose it. You can really feel so overwhelmed and so like that anxiety can kick in, and then you don't know what to do because now you're thinking, how are you going to manage? And there was a point where that was starting to come in, and I feel that is also, as much as it is human, is also waswasa, because we have to surrender. If Allah has put you through something, then there's a reason, and then we have to obviously accept whatever He gives us. And when we do that, then that means tawakkul, meaning, okay, Allah, you have tested me in this way, and I know that you're going to help me, so you surrender. Right? So cognitive reframing, and then I had to think, okay, I have an orphan and I have a widow. In dunya, it's tough, but if I have to think of the bigger picture, the akhirah, Quran speaks a lot about the widows and orphans. And in how I take it is actually, this is my platinum ticket. If I pass this test with them, inshallah, hopefully I can have Jannah and be with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Jannah, because he says the one who takes care of an orphan, he and I will be like this in Jannah with his fingers closed. And then also fully knowing that if I have been put on this path and this test, I know that Allah is with me, and the tools are there and everything is there. And when the opportunities come, I take it in, and I always constantly reflect whatever emotions I'm going through. I don't just shove it under the carpet. I bring in consciousness. So I constantly am assessing my emotions. How am I feeling? What is this trying to tell me? What needs to shift within me? Constantly trying to improve the self-awareness, personal mastery. And that's how I help clients. Cognitive reframing. Instead of just looking at it from the negative viewpoint, like, oh, now what happened, and the victim consciousness, you're only going to stay stuck. But if Allah has put you through something, there's a bigger reason and there's a bigger purpose, and He's preparing you for something bigger. And immediately you may not understand, but trusting the process. So that's how we do it. Cognitive reframing. Change the whole way you are looking at it. Because the way you think of it is your perception creates your reality, as we said.
Absolutely. Because I know I was watching a TED Talk which said it's not stress that kills you, but your perception of it.
Absolutely.
But I was listening into what you were saying, and you use terms like cognitive restructuring, reframing. So, you can't change the situation, but if you change how you perceive it, it makes such a big difference.
That's the
magic.
magic.
You spoke about feeling emotions, because I think it's very dangerous when we try to ignore the humanness in us, and we try to distract and completely avoid feeling, just say feeling sadness.
Yes.
You want to, take drugs or smoke or run away or because you don't want to feel,
Because
and we end up doing more negative things
Mm.
than positive things if we don't allow ourselves to just
Yes.
feel.
And I think the social norm is that you mustn't feel sad. If you feel sad, there's something wrong with you. You can't be depressed.
Yeah.
But then, yes, you actually in the long term battering yourself up even further. But if you just sit, and as I love to say, emotions are just like little kids. They'll keep nagging you until you give
Feel
it that
them,
attention.
and they come and they go. Like, I know
Yeah.
even at funerals, I see people are so uncomfortable. Don't cry, don't cry. But who said we can't cry?
Exactly.
Okay, don't scream and shout and bang your head and don't do things like that. But allowing yourself to feel is completely natural. We wouldn't have been born with emotions
Absolutely.
if they were not.
Acknowledgement of the emotion at the time is very important, but also the clear intention that I am feeling this emotion with the intention to release it. That's
And I
also
think the moment
magic.
we acknowledge it and label it, it does release.
Yes.
It's the moment you
Yes.
you give permission and you tell the nagging child, come and spend time with you. The child will be like, no, I don't want to spend time with you, go away.
But some
you know,
people-
that kind of vibe.
Yeah, they may acknowledge it, but they may feel now this is me and this is my state. And then they
It's
identify.
not a forever state,
Yes,
though, right?
that's why I think the clear intention that I am acknowledging it with the intention to release it is important, because you are now fully aware and conscious that, okay, I'm releasing it. It was in me and I'm letting it go, like the emotional detox.
Right. And you also spoke about spirituality, because I think that's a huge lifesaver. We find meaning. We believe that there's a bigger purpose.
Absolutely.
If we can't even find that, then we say, okay, we're being rewarded for this later on. So it's not like we're suffering for nothing. So I
Yes.
think faith is a big one.
Yes.
That saves us through. Because sometimes you feel
Absolutely.
like you're drowning.
Absolutely. And if we just keep our focus on dunya, that's when we will feel like we're drowning, and we may possibly drown. But if we realize dunya, what does it mean in itself? It's the lowest level, and it's also very temporary. So if we think of the bigger picture, why are we here? Why have we been created? It is to serve Allah. So even when you are setting your goals for this year, be very clear why you are here. And while you're achieving your goals for this world and to achieve success, how can you tie it into serving this deen? Because we have been created to serve Allah. So how can you, and make the intention, Ya Allah, I would love to serve your deen. Guide me and show me how. You don't need to be an alima or muftiya or a mulana or anything, but it's the little actions on a daily basis, just as a Muslim, you know, that we can do. Like if you see something that's not right, even to a family member, try in your own way to know, okay, in Islam, we should actually do this, but not obviously in a authoritative way and in a harsh way, because Islam is all about love as well.
And understanding and compassion.
Yes.
Right. And, alhamdulillah, it seems like you're quite enlightened. And I was wondering whether you'd be open to sharing with us the lessons that you've learned from 2019. What were the big ones?
Wow. The big one really was detachment. Detachment, because the biggest loss I've experienced was last year, and it just showed me that if you're attached to anything, then you know what, it's going to really affect you. But if you realize, as inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un means, who do we belong to? So we ourselves don't even belong to ourselves. So having to be able to detach was important, and then also realizing how temporary this world is. So when things happen, honestly, no matter how huge it can be, the reality sets in that it's temporary. And when you realize everything is temporary, can it really affect you? Like when you are traveling overseas and then you have a hiccup in the airport, you know that I'm not going to be here forever. It's okay. Automatically.
It's passing, and this moment too will pass.
Absolutely. So for me, it was detachment, being there for my father, in his last breath, watching him go, reading the Shahada, even though he was unconscious. But the time of death, Allah really prepared me where I could tell everybody, start with the Shahada now. And alhamdulillah, I was so engrossed with him, watching the forehead perspire. And there was a point that, eventually somebody tagged me, everything was silent. I looked up and the screen was off. And I phoned my brother who had just received his boarding pass. He was traveling from Malaysia. And I said, alhamdulillah, we gave daddy Zamzam and he went with Kalima. So Allah really gave me that peace. But when I reflected, that was my father's journey. Alhamdulillah, he went with the Shahada.
And he went with grace.
He went with
loved
that.
ones around him.
Absolutely.
Reading his Shahada, yeah.
But now we have to reflect, what about us? They are gone, alhamdulillah. What about us? Obviously, we have to read for them. But what about us? How are we living our daily lives?
And I think our lives will end as we have lived.
Absolutely.
And these are the moments where we get to reflect on that. How are we living? Are we living our best lives in all the spheres? Are we doing justice to ourselves and our loved ones?
Yes. So the bigger picture is detachment, and that everything is temporary.
I read somewhere, it says, life's lesson is finally when we get to Allah is enough for me. And I think it's a very difficult one because we attach to our children and we attach to work and we attach to all the titles and statuses. It's very hard to detach. And I think sometimes we get hit here and there
to teach us,
so-called hurdles to teach us.
Yes. And if we don't take the lessons and what's going to happen, we remain stuck or we attract the similar pattern and the cycle continues.
The compulsion to repeat. Right? And, we've come to the end of our show. Is there any advice for our listeners moving forward into the new year?
I would say trust, tawakkul, let your focus go back to Allah and remain in the frequency of hope and positivity, because hopelessness and despair is from shaitan. Every breath you take, breathe in love and gratitude. It is that breath, when that breath stops, that you cease to exist. So also be conscious of your actions, irrespective of what other people do to you. But what you do matters, because whatever you put out is what is going to come back to you. So even those moments that come that are very tough, just shift your focus. Let it go back to Allah, because you are shifting your focus from the problem to the one who has complete power. And wherever focus goes, energy flows. So listeners, this year has started. Go forward with consciousness, awareness, clarity, and positivity. Like Einstein said, only a fool will keep doing the same thing every day and hope for a different result. So change the way you handle life if you want your life to change. And also remember, Allah says that He will not change our condition until we change what is in ourselves. So start doing the inner work. You cannot change anybody, but you can change yourself.
It all starts from you. And we have a little guest in our studio, and that's Razia's daughter. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell our listeners your name?
Yes, my name is Husna Hafiji.
Husna, I've heard you've brought a little poem in to summarize our show. Would you be open to reading it first?
Yes.
Please do.
Okay. Never fail to try if you want to achieve success in life. Never ever give up. How much ever you have to strive, your strong spirit will help you achieve your goal. It will make you strong to realize your right role. So never give up. Jazakallah.
That's so beautiful. Alhamdulillah, she read that so well.
Jazakallah.
So as a final message to our listeners from my side, I always have to bring research in. So research has shown that about half of all adults make New Year's resolutions. However, fewer than 10% manage to keep them for more than a few months. The most common resolutions are, wait for it, losing weight, doing more exercise, quitting smoking and saving money. The main reason that people don't stick to the resolution is that they set too many or they're too unrealistic to achieve. They may also be the victim of a thing called what we call false hope syndrome. False hope syndrome is characterized by a person's unrealistic expectations about the likely speed, amount, ease and consequences of changing their behavior. So they assume it will happen very quickly without any effort. So here are some basic tips to make the attainment of those goals easier. Okay, it's a bit of repetition, but I think it finally goes home then. So it's be realistic in your goal setting. Break it down to smaller, achievable steps. Reward yourself often to keep motivated, because the inner child wants reward. So reward yourself. Set goals with company so you can motivate each other. Next week, we're going to have Bilkish Fauda in a show called Beating the Nerves, and it's to prepare all of us, parents and children, for the first day of school. Assalamu alaikum, and I hope the show lived up to its promise to inspire, educate and motivate. Remember, be mindful, be kind and enjoy the rest of your week. See you next week, same time, same place, from me, your host, Nazia Iram Osman.